What's up, guys? This is Ninja in his bedroom, and here's the video that I was talking about in my last video. The next video is going to be political, probably, and it is. Basically, I did drink a little bit of water, so hopefully that won't bother me too much. But anyways, I decided to go ahead and just do a video response, pretty much, like just kind of to watch it so you guys know what he's saying and why I'm saying what I'm saying. If that makes sense. So, yeah, that's basically what I want to see, and yeah, we'll just go from there.
If he'll accept the election results, and Trump was asked if he'll accept the election results, and he's also asked how he'll view his presidency when it's done. His answer is amazing.
In general, not talking about November, are you a good loser?
I'm not a good loser. I don't like to lose. I don't lose too often. I don't like to lose.
But are you gracious?
You don't know until you see. It depends. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see. Look, Hillary Clinton asked me the same thing.
No, I asked you the same thing in the debate.
So, real quick, I just want to say this. It's not part of my comments, but something I want to add in. Pretty much, the reason. So there's two ways to take this. Well, not really. There's multiple ways, but pretty much there can be option A where he actually is opposed to handing the keys over, right? Like you just say like that, and like everyone assumes that, and maybe that's the case. Or there's option B, which I think is more likely, and it's he actually feels like he's being cheated out of it. And so he's not going to hand it over because he feels like he legitimately, honestly feels like the game's being rigged against him. And my guess is he's being talked up by people. They're telling him this stuff, and because he trusts them naively and blindly, that he believes them. And I think that's what's going on. So if we can like prove to him without a shadow of a doubt that he did legitimately lose and no one cheated, that he would hand the keys over. But as long as he feels that he's being cheated, he's not going to do it. That's my take on the matter. Could be completely wrong. I don't know. But again, I just try to have a very broad perspective and have all options available and put them all out there, and then we'll see what happens. You know, I can make calls, obviously, but I'd rather have a discussion and then make a call. So.
There is a tradition in this country, in fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris.
And you know what? She's the one that never accepted it.
I agree.
She never accepted her loss, and
But
she looks like
can
a
you
fool.
Can you give a direct answer? You will accept the
I
election?
have to see. Look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no, and I didn't last time either.
Whether it's in 2021 or 2025, how will you regard your years as President of the United States?
I think I was very unfairly treated. From before I even won, I was under investigation by a bunch of thieves, crooks. It was an illegal investigation.
But what about the
Russia,
good? What
Russia,
about the
Russia.
good parts there?
No, I want to go this. I have done more than any president in history in the first 3.5 years, and I've done it suffering through investigations where people have been, General Flynn, where people have been so unfairly treated. The Russia hoax, it was all a hoax. The Mueller scam, it was all a scam. It was all false. I made a bad decision on one bad decision, Jeff Sessions, and now I feel good because he lost overwhelmingly in the great state of Alabama. Here's the bottom line. I've been very unfairly treated, and I don't say that as paranoid. I've been everybody says it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but with tremendous evidence right now as to how unfairly treated I was.
This is comedic, man. I said in a previous segment, I think there's a 95% chance now that Joe Biden is going to win. And that might even be the low number. It might be more than that. Because in the most recent poll, Biden's up 15 percentage points nationally. You know how much Hillary was up this time in 2016? 4. Biden's up 15. And then when you look at the swing states, it's even worse. And when you look at the specific issues, Biden is just crushing Trump in virtually every single category. Because of stuff like this. Hey, Don, I don't know if you noticed, there's a pandemic and a depression happening. And look at the answers he's giving to questions. He was asked, how will you regard your presidency when it's over? Whether it's, in this upcoming election or the one after. How will you regard your presidency? His answer is, I was very unfairly treated. I've done more than anybody in history. Okay, but what about the specifics? What about the details?
So real quick, this was my first comment that I had left on the video. And basically, the reason why that was his answer to the question, how was your presidency? Oh, I was treated unfairly. It's because he's very insecure, basically, and he needs to have approval from people in order to feel like he accomplished something. But because he's not getting that from people, he feels treated incorrectly, and so he needs to kind of defend himself. He needs to put himself out there and assert himself. Oh, look how amazing I am. It's just that it's a clear sign of insecurity when someone's like, oh, I'm the best, I'm the shit, and they put themselves out there in that way. It's because they don't actually feel like they're the best or the shit, and they're just trying to make everyone else say that so that they say it to him, and then he can feel like he's accomplished, which is what he succumbs to in his White House, and just everyone around him. They give him that, and so he goes along with them, and blah blah blah. We'll get into that stuff later, maybe.
What exactly have you done that's more than anybody in history? What exactly have you done? What have you done? What have you done? What have you done? Go ahead, I'll wait. I'm listening. I was very unfairly treated. The Russia hoax. Jeff Sessions recused himself, but I'm happy he lost his election. Look at how petty and narcissistic this man is. He can't even pretend to give a list of accomplishments. He couldn't even pretend. How will you regard your presidency?
So, just real quick, narcissistic and egotistical, very close, but what I believe is that he's very insecure, and that makes a lot more sense. Does that make sense to you? Weigh out what he said compared to narcissistic and egotistical versus he's insecure. Because if he was narcissistic and egotistical, he'd be like, oh, I'm the shit, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, he'd be doing that kind of stuff. But because he's like, I've been treated harshly and I deserve better, and he's very insecure. He's not confident. So,
well, before COVID came along, we had an amazing economy, probably the best economy ever. We had unemployment down at nearly 3%. It was really something special to see. The other thing I did is I made sure that I killed the Trans-Pacific Partnership to protect people's jobs. I care most about protecting people's jobs. I signed the First Step Act, which is freeing unfairly imprisoned people. And Joe Biden helped imprison those people unfairly. I freed those people. It's really incredible. It's really amazing. I made peace. People said it couldn't be done, but I made peace with North Korea. I brought peace to this world. If he was remotely serious as a human being, and if he wasn't an idiot, he has these little things he could point to and say, yes, this, and this, and then just hammer that home. Here's what I've done, which is wonderful. Instead of that, he goes right to, pity poor me. I'm treated so unfairly. Everybody's against me. But I'm so great anyway. You can't just say that. You have to explain how and why in the specific. He doesn't do that.
So, as this is the next comment where you're basically saying he has to explain why and how. Basically, my point is, no, he doesn't. And the reason why is because everyone around him kissed his ass. Kisses and or kissed his ass, basically. Another aspect is his base consists of blind sheep. Outside of those people, sure, he would have to explain himself, but he's protected from dealing with those people for the most part. He never has to explain himself because no one's questioning him. And he's not used to having to explain himself because no one questioned him. But now we're getting to a point where people are questioning him, and he's like, what do I do? How do I get by this? I can't get people to get on my side because everyone's always on his side anyway. But now people are like, hold on, but no, what about this? And he's like, no, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. And that's kind of what's going on, basically.
He is so screwed. He's so screwed. There's not a single. I don't even care if you're the most hardcore Trump supporter. You watch that and you go, oh, this is sad. This is sad.
No.
You didn't even have a list of 5 things you could, hit when you're asked that question. You didn't have a list of anything. You went right to, I'm so unfairly treated. You know who's unfairly treated? The person who lost their job because there's a pandemic and a depression. You know who's unfairly treated? The person who had to take a 25% pay cut as a result of what's happening now with the economy. You know who's unfairly treated? I don't know, maybe the 40% of small businesses that are going to go belly up as a result of COVID and the depression. The 40% of child care centers which are going to go belly up, which is another national crisis that we never talk about. The 32% of Americans who can't pay their rent or their mortgage. 32%. The 28 million people, or a report just came out, 28 million people could be homeless within a year or two now as a result of what's happening. 28 million. 28 million. You know what the number is now? Homelessness, I think it's about 600,000 people. 28 million. That's more than the population of a bunch of our giant cities combined. What about them? Are they unfairly treated? You tell me, Don, are they unfairly treated? How about any of the 140,000 people who died from COVID-19? Are they unfairly treated? Were they unfairly treated when you refused to do a mask mandate early on? Was that them being unfairly treated? Talking about how he's unfairly treated. Look around! Read the room! Every time he talks, he plummets more and more in the polls.
So I just want to say real quick, I agree with everything he's saying, but again, you got to look at the bigger picture here. Like, you're asking these questions, like, look around, see the bigger picture. He is. The problem is he's not used to explaining himself, like I said, so.
Because of stuff like this. The final thing, he says, I really think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. See, he's already getting his excuses in. Get your excuses in early. Let's go. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election.
Okay, so this is the next comment that I left. And basically, I'm just going to read what I said. They are not excuses. I think he actually believes that being the mail-in is going to be rigged. And I said, because he is friends with evil people who talk it into his head. I think he is bad, but I honestly do not think he is as bad as those around him make him out to be. They make him worse. The issue is he is an ignorant idiot and they exploit that. So he takes the fall for the cause they are talking him into making. Again, he isn't innocent, but look at what happened with Bolton. He got mad that Trump didn't want to go off and kill a bunch of people. The point is, there is a good under there. It is just surrounded by a wall of corrupt bullshitters. He, like the right, like the conservatives, like the military and Christian families in our world, are having their blind loyalties exploited by bad people. They need to see the truth, to have enlightenment brought to them. That was kind of my point there. So it's not excuses, it's just he's surrounded by bad people who make him believe these things. And so he's more focused on that. And because he sees everyone else's enemies, because of those around him, he's not listening. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's going on, personally to me.
My favorite story about Trump discussing mail-in voting. There was a special election that happened relatively recently. There were just a handful of elections. Trump goes out there in a press conference, or he's answering questions from the media. He may have been in like some sort of meeting or whatever. And he goes, this mail-in voting, there's a lot of rigging. It's very corrupt. People with the mail-in voting, it's not good. It's not good. They could rig it. It's not a good thing. Really bad. And we had 2 great elections yesterday where Republicans won. Those were mail-in elections because of the pandemic. Those were mail-in elections.
So before we get into that anymore, another comment. Basically, I said, see, he says that because he honestly has no idea and only knows what he is told. He believes it is bad, but has no idea it's actually right and that it actually works. And so I didn't have any more timestamps here, but I think I just kind of ranted at this point. So I said, people are not wrong to like Trump. There are things he does that make him likable. He speaks his mind, he calls shit out, he doesn't afraid. The issue is under control. Just like religion, the government, military, you name it. It's great things, unless the person running that is corrupt, or answering to someone who is corrupt. That is the problem. You don't see it and blame him, but hopefully you and others like you will get word of this and change your mind. Yeah, so basically I'm just trying to, again, enlighten people, get them to see the truth, and like, you can blame him, but you gotta understand it's not him. Like, you're not dealing with him, you're dealing with the people under him. He's the face of the problem. The problem is everything else under him. So we have to get through Trump and get to the real problem. That's what's going on. That's like the puppet state that people are always talking about. Like with Bush, that was a thing. The military industrial complex was a big deal because Bush allowed it to basically take hold. He was bribed enough by these people to enable all of this stuff to happen, or he was bought and told like, oh, the military is good, and he's like, yeah, military is good, and goes along with it. Don't blame him for that. It's like, I mean, you can blame him. Again, you can blame Trump too, because they kind of bent the knee towards these things, but it's the influence around him. Even Obama pointed out that you're not going to be able to take Putin. It's because he's out there and he's constantly, pressuring people. It's just that, for example, Obama didn't give into it. Certain people didn't give into it, whereas other presidents are. There's influences in the world that they're giving into that other presidents did not. That's why Obama didn't do so well in office, because he didn't bend the knee, so he couldn't get anything done. Whereas these other people, like Trump and Bush, bent the knee and they got a lot done as a result. But it was bad stuff that happened. So anyways, and the last comment I said was, and I say this is what happened in Russia, and that's a point I have that I could talk about later. Because I remember hearing Russian people say that they were under a curtain of misinformation, and that is why they did what they did, and why they changed once the truth was revealed to them. And that's kind of the whole point of my videos, essentially, enlightenment. It's getting the truth out there, like where competition thrives, where debate thrives, where free speech thrives, where like clarity thrives, where there's no like nothing blocking, everything's out in the open, and we could talk and sword combat, fighting, guns blaring, legit, honest debate and discussion where truth will prevail. Basically, it's not like corrupted, sneaking around, voting in a basement at 3 in the morning, trying to sneak things through like the government's going through now. That's kind of what I encourage and try to get into the world, make sure everything's clear and out there in the open so we can really talk about things, basically. And so like that's why I think enlightenment is the answer, pretty much. And just a bonus, I guess, that's pretty much why I feel that they're trying to screw over education. Like they're trying to make it to where schools are underfunded, and they're trying to make college very hard to get into and very expensive, because they want people to become monkeys and basic, easy to manipulate and control, and have them vote to take away their rights and benefits, because they're like guising it under a certain like, oh, look how bad it is to have guns, for example. Don't you want to get rid of guns? And they're like, yeah, guns are bad. Fortunately, we do have people fighting back, and they're not like completely bought into it. The same thing happened with free speech, for example. They're like, oh, pronouns, you got to call me a she or a he. And that whole thing was just like carried hard. And the main perspective to me, or the main goal to my perspective, I guess I should say, is they're trying to get people to vote against free speech and to to force speech to not be free anymore. It's like just means to control, like they're trying to control guns, they're controlling speech or whatever. They're attacks on our rights, but they're being disguised as these problems that are actually minuscule problems, but they're trying to blow them up into something way more, basically. So that's just add that I wanted to add, and here's the rest of the video. I might add, we'll see.
And voting rigs it, and then, oh, isn't it great that our Republicans won in the election yesterday? Wait, you just said it's rigged. So did the Republicans rig it for them to win? Oh, no, it's only when the Democrats win, then it's rigged. But when the Republicans rig, even when it's by mail-in, which I say rigs it, no, it only counts when it's Democrats. That's when it's rigged. That's when it's fake. When Republicans win, even if it's the thing I say is rigged, it's not rigged because the Republicans win. Do you see how self-serving this idiot is?
You can say that, but it's not that he's self-serving. It's just he's ignorant and naive and just doesn't know. He probably doesn't know that they voted with mail-in to win that. He doesn't understand that. Again, just another perspective to consider. Maybe he does. I don't know. I can't say. But don't take what I'm saying as like, oh, he completely didn't know. Maybe he did. I'm just saying that there's a chance, and it's very likely that he's being lied to and told that it's working this way. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it is corrupted and exploited. And he's like, see, we won legitimately. Our people are showing up, but mail-in votes are going to be corrupted and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, so.
Do you see how he just twists stuff all the time and flips it to try to, make his case and make himself look good and protect the Republicans? There's not an honest bone in this dude's body, man. He is so full of shit, it's coming out of his ears and his eyeballs. So take note of all this stuff.
Possibly.
This is disgusting. And now, when he loses, which is a lot more likely than saying if at this point, we better make sure we get his ass out of there. Because he's going to cry and he's going to whine like the little bitch he is. When, you should have done something to stop the pandemic, something that worked. And you should have done something to prevent the depression or at least ameliorate it if you really wanted to stay in that.
All right, we're going to end it there. But yeah, that's all I want to say. I hope people just kind of have a different perspective. And I honestly think that the solution and the answer to all of these problems, I think Jordan Peterson had the right idea when he was going on what do they call it? Just right-leaning news organizations, when he went into conservative networks and whatnot. He had the right idea basically, and it was to go in and reach the people and get them the truth, to enlighten them. Don't completely blame all of them, because they just kind of have this belief. And again, religion, military, the government, for example, you name it, things like that. They're just umbrella tactics. And they're trying to talk about oh, don't you want to be an alpha male and blah, blah, blah. They're trying to influence masses of people that have this kind of obligation to be loyal to a cause. And that was pirated and corrupted. And that's kind of what they're doing. And my theory is that basically is what happened to Trump as a person, is they have him following what they're saying and what they believe and what they want, and he just believes that. Because that's what they're doing to the Christians, that's what they're doing to the military families, that's what they're doing to conservatives, that's what they're doing to all of these people, and they're just making out the left to be, oh, look at, they're evil, don't trust them, they're bad, they want to kill babies, and they're trying to disguise it in any possible way that they can. And that's why there's their arguments are hypocritical, basically. They're oh, we can't spend money, we got to save money, funds, and it's in their control. They're spend money, spend money, spend money. It's because they keep painting it a certain way where it's hypocritical, basically. But again, to people that aren't really paying attention too much, they don't see the hypocriticalness, because they only see what's being said at the moment. And at the moment, it's always the right that's leading the charge. They're using that initial anger, that initial message, that hostility, like Bill Barr with the whole Mueller report. How right before the Mueller report was released, he came out and he's like, it was perfectly fine, don't worry about it. And the whole point of that was to make sure that all of the conservatives and all the people on the right didn't even look at it. And then anybody was like, oh, I'm going to talk about the Mueller report. They're like, nah, he's fine. Screw that noise. I don't need to hear shit. Barr said it's fine. And they trust him because he's a government official. They have that blind government loyalty. And that's what's going on. They keep controlling those people, tricking those people. And they do it the same thing with Christianity, too. They're like, oh, don't you want to believe God? God says Trump should win. So all the Christians are like, okay. And then people on the left are like, hey, I got to talk to you about Trump. Nope, God said he's going to win, so God's going to win. And that's what happens. And that's what they're trying to, they're getting desperate to the point where they're like, don't you want to be an alpha male or do you want to be a beta male? They're getting desperate, reaching for any kind of group that they possibly can. And that's why they keep trying to split us up and have us divided and fighting with one another. Divided they fall. That's what's going on. Is they need us to split up so they can go and take control of one of those groups, or both and their groups, and have them do what they want them to do. That's my theory on the matter. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. Take it real, keep it easy. Have a good one, and peace.